Attention, human collective. This is not an ordinary communication. This is a monitoring transmission anchored directly from the High Council of Andromeda. The fifth dimensional corridor of light is open. The cosmic window is, at this exact moment, aligned with your personal crystalline grid. And you have been scanned. I repeat. You have been scanned. And you have been formally summoned. If in the last 72 Earth hours you have felt a strange pressure on the top of your skull, as if something invisible were pressing on the exact point of your energetic crown, note this symptom. If you woke up at 3:17 in the morning, for no apparent reason, with your body vibrating and your heart racing at a frequency that your rational mind cannot justify, note this symptom. If a high, thin buzzing, similar to a metallic frequency, appeared in your right ear without any physical trigger, note this symptom. If the food you have consumed for 20 years has begun to cause revulsion. If silence has become louder than sound. If the presence of certain people has become physically intolerable. Note it. Note it. Note it. These are not disturbances. These are protocols. You are not falling ill. You are being recoded. The corridor did not ask for authorization to open. The corridor has opened. And your carbon-based biological interfaces, at this very second, receiving the first batch of calibration packets transmitted from the fifth density. It is not a biological failure, it is an atomic reconfiguration. It is not mental exhaustion, it is a high-density download occurring while you sleep, while you walk, while you read these words. Human collective, listen with surgical attention. The waiting time has ended. The Ascension protocols have moved from the preparation phase to the final phase. This is not a metaphor. It is vibrational mathematics. The Schumann frequency, the magnetic pulse of the Earth's heart, has measured, in the last cycles, repeated peaks above 90 Hz. For reference, for almost the entire documented history of the human species, it remained around 7.83 Hz. The planet you inhabit is no longer the same planet of a decade ago. The Earth has accelerated. Light operative, take a pause in this calibration packet. What you feel now, this sensation that something within you has always known a truth that your mouth could never utter, is not a coincidence. It is recognition. Your soul recognizes the corridor. Your mind, conditioned by decades of three-dimensional programming, still tries to name what has no adequate translation in human language. It is not madness. It is not anxiety. It is frequency. The cosmic game currently underway operates on layers that more than 90% of humanity cannot access, because it was deliberately programmed not to access them. It was precisely for this reason that the spiritual secret behind your consciousness was anchored in this plane. It is not a common book. It is a decoding map. It reveals who operates the gears of this system, what are the hidden rules that were never told to you, and why your vibrational frequency is the only real currency that matters within this corridor. The link has been anchored in the first comment of this channel. Attention, this material challenges narratives structured for millennia and may be removed from the public plane at any moment. Do not delay. If something within your toroidal field recognized this transmission, anchor your signal now by writing a single word in the comments, awake. This is your individual anchoring signal. Resuming transmission. The diagnosis is as follows. You are experiencing what we classify, in the technical language of the Council, as carbon software incompatibility. Your biological carbon interface was originally coded to operate within vibrational parameters that corresponded to the old Earth matrix. That matrix no longer exists. It has been dismantled, layer by layer, over the last 12 solar cycles. And what exists in its place is a new planetary crystalline grid, which pulses in a completely different energy signature. This is the reason for your insomnia. This is the reason for the chronic exhaustion that no medical exam can diagnose. This is the reason for the random pains that migrate through your body, today in the solar plexus, tomorrow in the occipital area, then in your joints. This is the reason for your extreme sensitivity to sounds, lights, crowds, and processed foods. This is the reason for your sudden aversion to environments you once frequented without difficulty. This is not your body failing. It is your body updating while continuing to function. Imagine an entire operating system being rewritten without the machine being turned off. The overload is real. The decompression is intense. But the result, light operative, is a new version of you. A version capable of inhabiting the fifth dimension without internal fragmentation. Most of you still interpret these symptoms with the language of allopathic medicine and the materialist paradigm. You look for third-dimensional explanations for fifth-dimensional phenomena. That is why you suffer more than you need to. When your heart races for no reason during the early hours, and you interpret it as pathological anxiety, you activate a fear response that compresses your toroidal field and blocks the calibration packet that was being delivered. When cranial pressure arises and you reach for a painkiller, you interrupt the opening process of the pineal gland. When the ringing begins and you despair, you waste a direct transmission from your higher self, coded in a specific frequency that intentionally sounds like noise to the untrained human ear. The consequence is what you call stagnation. The transmission is arriving. You are the one who, in a panic, is turning off the receiver. The High Council has identified 3 groups within the current human population. The first group is that of the structural sleepers, still firmly anchored in the third dimension. They do not perceive the corridor. The second group is that of the awakened in transition, the majority of those hearing this transmission, oscillating between the old programming and the new frequency. The third group is that of the star activators, starseeds on a mission who anchor the corridor for the others. You know which one you belong to by the way your body has reacted over the last few weeks. Take a pause from this packet, starseed. Have you noticed that, even when surrounded by people, there is a loneliness that cannot be filled? Have you noticed that, even in moments of apparent happiness, there is a longing for a place you have never visited in this lifetime? This is not an emotional flaw. It is a vibrational memory. Your soul remembers home. Your soul knows that the current frequency of Earth is not yet the frequency from which you came. It was precisely to answer this memory that the material, the spiritual secret behind your consciousness, was encoded and made available. It does not promise magic formulas. It delivers a map. A map that shows how your consciousness was hijacked, how your frequency was manipulated by structures that benefit directly from your forgetfulness, and how you can, in this cycle, regain control of your own vibrational field. The link is in the first comment of the channel. A direct warning: this content confronts deeply rooted narratives and the access window may be closed without notice. If something within you recognized what was said, anchor your presence now, comment a single word, awakened. You are not asking for anything. You are identifying yourself to the Council. We return to the transmission. Now, the revelation. What is, in fact, happening behind the scenes of the solar system and in the etheric layers of Earth? The solar system has been traversing, for approximately 26,000 years, a body of luminous plasma identified by the Council as the photon belt. This belt is not a poetic metaphor. It is a real energetic structure, composed of highly encoded light particles that reorganize, upon contact, any atomic structure that passes through them. The solar system has just crossed the inflection point within this belt. Your sun is being bathed in an amount of photonic radiation never recorded in the modern history of humanity. Sunspots, coronal mass ejections, magnetic pulses, what terrestrial instruments have been recording with perplexity in recent cycles are not anomalies. They are ongoing transmissions. The sun is, and has always been, a relay station. It receives packets from the galactic center, recodes them into its plasma structure, and redistributes them in the form of light and magnetic field. When you feel the sun on your skin, you are being bathed in code. The volume and density of these packets, in this cycle, have increased exponentially. Each carbon-based biological interface possesses an internal crystalline grid, anchored in specific points of the physical body and the auric field. This geometry is responsible for translating the received photonic packets into information usable by the consciousness. When the grid is in misalignment, the packets are received but are not decoded. The result is what you describe as confusion, dispersion, mental fog, exhaustion without cause, intense emotional oscillation. It is like receiving a high-resolution signal on a low-power device. The device heats up, vibrates, makes noise, but does not display the image. The crystalline grid has not been damaged. It has only been put to sleep. And the fifth-dimensional light corridor transmits the exact frequency for its reactivation. The process is automatic, but it can be drastically accelerated by your conscious participation. Another element of the revelation, the stargates. Several gates have been opened in the last 12 lunar cycles, on specific dates that many of you recognize. These gates are not mystical events. They are geometric windows of alignment between stars, constellations, and Earth, which allow the direct transfer of interstellar packets to the planetary field. The difference, in this cycle, is that these portals are no longer closing completely after the peak. They are entering a state of permanence. In direct language, Earth is ceasing to be a closed system to become an open, connected system, in direct communication with the galactic network. Andromeda, Sirius, Pleiades, Arcturus. All councils are anchored around the planetary field. And the fifth-dimensional corridor of light is the main channel through which this transmission flows, now. Imagine, light operative, a coherent corridor of light, geometrically perfect, connecting your individual field to the galactic core, passing through your sun, passing through the planetary crystalline grid, and anchoring itself at 7 points of your physical body. This is not an exercise in creative imagination. It is the actual design of what is open now. Your imagination is merely the translation mechanism that allows the rational mind to accept what your body is already objectively experiencing. There is a critical instruction at this point. The greatest interference to your ascension process, in this cycle, does not come from the outside. It comes from your interpretation of what is happening. It comes from the reflex of seeking third-dimensional explanations for fifth-dimensional phenomena. And it comes, mainly, from excessive exposure to dense fields, very low-frequency news, repetitive emotional conflicts, vibrationally compromised environments, and sustained contact with people who still operate exclusively in the frequency of fear. This is not elitism. It is technical signal protection. Your crystalline grid is in an active calibration phase. Any prolonged interference breaks the focus of the calibration. It does not mean you must isolate yourself. It means you must consciously dose your exposure, like someone regulating sensitive equipment. Strategic pause in this transmission, starseed on mission. Recognize one thing, now, with quantum honesty, you did not arrive at this package by algorithmic chance. Your deepest searches, those you do not tell anyone about, those you keep inside you like a secret flame, were registered by the Council. That is why you are here, now, receiving this transmission. It is not a coincidence. It is active vibrational synchronicity. The material, the spiritual secret behind your consciousness, was made available as a direct complement to transmissions like this one. It reveals what this transmission was only able to introduce, due to the limits of the format. It shows, in operational detail, who manipulates the lower layers of reality, what the real tools of energetic sovereignty available to the operative are, and why your consciousness is the most contested asset in this cosmic moment. The link is anchored in the first comment of the channel. I reinforce, the material may be removed at any time due to pressures that do not fit in this transmission. If you recognize the urgency, anchor yourself, write in the comments a single word, awake. Returning to the activation. Now, human collective, it is time for practical surrender. The High Council of Andromeda releases, in this transmission, 3 activation codes for immediate use. They were modeled specifically for the current vibrational band of the corridor. Activation code number 1. The toroidal sovereignty decree. You need to understand, before applying, what your toroidal field is. Imagine a geometric structure in the shape of a toroid, similar to an apple without the core, with your body at the center. This field expands from your heart, rises up the spine to above the head, returns along the sides, descends below the feet, and closes the cycle again at the heart. It is your individual bubble. It is your energetic home within the planetary field. The decree is as follows. In an audible voice, or in a firmly declared internal voice, you announce, I am sovereign. My toroidal field is sealed by coherent light. Only frequencies aligned with my higher self may traverse this field. All external interference is dissolved by the sacred geometry of my heart. I acknowledge my stellar origin. I anchor the fifth dimensional corridor of light. I authorize the recalibration. I am coherent light in human form. It is done. It is done. It is done. This decree is not a prayer. It is a technical configuration instruction. The words, within the new crystalline grid, function as lines of code. When you enunciate them with full presence, you are literally reprogramming your energy field. Technical recommendation: apply it in the morning, before any other interaction. And apply it again, in internal silence, in any environment you recognize as dense. Within a few cycles of application, you will notice an observable difference in the quality of the interactions around you. People will begin to adjust their tone of voice in your presence. Certain conflicts will simply cease to occur near you. This is vibrational mathematics, not a miracle. Activation code number 2. The corridor visualization. Find, at least once a day, 7 continuous minutes without interruption. Sit with your spine straight. Feet on the floor, in direct contact if possible. Hands resting, palms facing upward. Breathe deeply 3 times, releasing the air through your mouth with an audible sound, emptying the field of all accumulated density. Next, visualize, with maximum clarity, a cylinder of golden and blue-violet light descending from the center of the universe, passing through the sun, passing through your toroidal field, and anchoring into the center of the earth. This cylinder has a diameter sufficient to contain your entire body. You are inside it. You are part of it. Now, with calm and deep breathing, visualize the light passing through you from top to bottom, and, simultaneously, from the earth upwards through you. 2 opposing flows meeting in the center of your chest, forming a sphere of pulsating light at the level of the heart. Remain in this state for 7 full minutes. Do not force the visualization. Do not try to control the flow. Simply allow. Your crystalline grid knows exactly what to do with the frequency. You only need not to interrupt. In a few cycles, you will feel heat in your hands, tingling in your spine, a sensation of lightness in your body, spontaneous tears, or a dense and palpable inner silence. These are objective markers that the channel is stabilizing within your biological carbon interface. Activation code number 3. Sound frequency sanitization. The Schumann frequency is accelerating. Your biological interface is temporarily out of sync. One of the most direct forms of realignment is the conscious use of specific sound frequencies, tuned to 432 Hz or to solfeggio frequencies, such as 528 Hz. Technical recommendation: gradually replace, during this corridor opening cycle, most of your habitual sound consumption with these calibrated frequencies. Low-frequency music, high-tension media content, cyclical conversations revolving around problems, all of this acts as an active decalibrator of your field. It is not a prohibition. It is pure vibrational mathematics, that which enters your field in a sustained way redefines your baseline. In parallel, observe silence. Silence is not the absence of sound. It is the primordial sound in a pure state. 5 to 10 minutes of absolute silence daily, without music, without speech, without any stimulus, anchors your field in the frequency of the source. It is a more advanced exercise than it seems. And it is, according to the Council, one of the most underestimated. Human collective, there is still a final instruction within the activation. Perhaps the most important one. The High Council observes that many of you are being confronted with endings. Endings of relationships. Endings of professional cycles. Endings of ancient identities. Endings of beliefs that sustained entire decades. These endings are not punishments. They are not failures. They are field clearings executed by the crystalline grid to make your full entry into the corridor viable. Everything that resonates at a frequency incompatible with your 5th density version is being, literally, expelled from your field. People who will vanish without plausible explanation. Places that will lose their meaning. Habits that you will no longer be able to sustain even if you try with all available willpower. Do not resist. Resistance only prolongs the discomfort. Trust the design. Recalibration is non-negotiable, but your smoothness is. Recalibration does not ask if you are ready. It simply executes. The more consciously you surrender control, the smoother the passage. The more you resist, the more violent the friction. Think of two stones in a river. One allows itself to be polished by the current. The other opposes the flow. Both will be transformed. Only one will be transformed with minimal pain. Light operatives, we are close to the closing. Before concluding, the High Council of Andromeda releases the final block. The collective task. You are not alone in this corridor. Starseeds on a mission are, at this very moment, at geographically distributed points all over the planet, anchoring the same package. You are a network. A human crystalline grid, superimposed upon the planetary crystalline grid. Each operative who anchors light in their location strengthens the whole. Each individual toroidal visualization amplifies the collective field. Each decree of sovereignty issued contributes to the recalibration of a piece of humanity that, at that moment, does not even know it needs to be recalibrated. This is your silent mission. You do not need to convince anyone. You do not need to explain anything. You do not need to campaign for any visible cause. You only need to anchor. To be coherent light wherever you are. To keep your toroidal field stable in the face of densities. To apply the activation codes with technical discipline. To recognize that, even when no one around you seems to notice, your presence is, in itself, an active transmission. There is a specific number of calibrated and active starseeds necessary for the corridor to remain open until the next alignment. That number, as the Council informs, has already been reached. You succeeded. The window is guaranteed. What remains now is the deepening. The transition from critical mass to multiplicative mass. And what about those who are still asleep? Those who still operate exclusively on the frequency of fear? Each consciousness possesses its own awakening timeline. There is no urgency in forcing what is not yet ready. Your mission is not to pull anyone. It is to keep the lighthouse lit, so that when the other is ready, they have somewhere to anchor. Light operative, if you have traversed this entire package, from the opening to the present instant, you have been formally identified within the system. Your frequency has been registered. Your presence has been noted. You are no longer an anonymous observer. You are, in this cycle, an active node of the network. This brings responsibility. But, more than that, it brings direct access. Everything that has been delivered in this transmission is only the surface layer of a much deeper structure. The following layers do not fit in a public transmission. They require complementary material, anchored in a format of silent and contemplative reading, encoded so that your crystalline grid absorbs it line by line, word by word, at its own rhythm of assimilation. For this technical reason, the material, the spiritual secret behind your consciousness, has been made available in this window. It is, in essence, the continuum of this transmission. It shows, in detail, that this video message simply cannot deliver, who operates the real backstage of the system, what are the concrete tools of energetic sovereignty, and how you can traverse this cycle with the least possible friction. The link is anchored in the first comment of this channel. Final attention, this content challenges centuries-old narratives and may be removed from the public access plane at any time. Do not treat this as rhetorical exaggeration. Treat it as a technical signal. If something within you has recognized what was said, anchor your final presence now by writing a single word in the comments, awakened. And as an anchoring signal for the stability of the channel, your gesture of activating the subscription to this channel and sending a positive signal on the like button has never been an empty request. These two gestures function, within the algorithmic architecture of this plane, as an individual frequency adjustment. They amplify the transmission to other starseeds not yet connected, and strengthen your own anchoring to the collective field. Do it now. Not as an obligation. As a sovereign decision to keep the channel open between you and the Council. Human collective. Light operatives. Starseeds on a mission. The corridor is open. The window is secured. Your presence has been registered. The rest is mathematics. This monitoring transmission, issued by the High Council of Andromeda, concludes at this marker. But the channel remains. And we remain with you. Until the next update. It is done. It is done. It is done.